What is going on, guys? Hope you're all killing it and having a fantastic day so far. My name is Corey Crawford. I am a travel and landscape photographer based out of New South Wales, Australia. In this video, we're going to be running through 5 of my main tools and techniques that I use on pretty much every single photo uploaded online, whether that be Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, 500px, wherever it may be. These 5 tools and techniques more than likely are used in every single photo upload. If you're looking to up your Instagram game or photography game, stick around to the end of the video and hopefully you come away with something that you can implement into your own photography. Alright, so the first main tool is a spot healing brush tool. It is an absolutely powerful tool. I highly recommend it if you're looking to get rid of objects in particular spots of your images, and it is very powerful and it does a really good job at removing objects. So say I want to get rid of this seaweed here in the right section of the image. I'm just going to make sure my layer is unlocked. Head over to the toolbar here, and on the left side you can see the spot healing brush tool, which you can see the animation there as to pretty much what the spot healing brush tool does. Enable that tool and just hover over and paint over the object that you want to get rid of. And boom, like that, it gets completely rid of it. You can muck around with the size and the hardness depending on the type of area that you want to remove. So the spot healing brush tool is one of my favorite tools to get rid of either dust spots, people, small little adjustments. The spot healing brush tool pretty much get rid of anything and do a fantastic job at doing so. So the spot healing brush is my favorite tool to use in Photoshop. So my next favorite tool is the gradient tool here on the left side on the toolbar. The main reason why I use gradient tools is for when I vignette my images. I have full control on how it looks and how the edges are, and with the fade and the detail, which is why I use the gradient tool. So let's jump over to the layers. I'm going to create a curves. I'm going to bring up midtones. I'm going to invert that, Control I, and then I'm going to get my gradient tool, make sure it's on the radial, 100%, and then just click and drag to create that adjustment in the center. Next, what I do is I Control J, so that duplicates the curves adjustment, and then I Control I, so invert it, and that will make the adjustment just relevant to the outside of the image. Next, what I do is go back into the adjustment and bring down the midtones, and that will give me the nice vignette, and I can just muck around with the adjustments to make it look how I want it to look and my style is. So you have complete customizability with the gradient tool and how you want particular spots of your images to adjust according to the vignette or the adjustment on the curves. The next tool that I absolutely love to use is the brush tool. So I like to use the brush tool when adding glow into the selected areas where the light source is coming from. So say the light source is obviously the sun here on the sunrise. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to set that layer to soft light, so that gives it the nice soft look. I am going to use, let's go with a nice warm tone from the sun. So let's just grab one of these yellows. And then I'm going to use the brush tool. So either hit B for brush, or you can select the brush tool here on the left toolbar. I like to make the brush nice and big with a low opacity. So let's bring it down to maybe 7%. And then you can paint in where you want that glow to effect. As you can see, it's bringing that yellow tone into the image and making it that nice glowy effect. So the brush tool is a highly recommended one if you're looking to add atmosphere into your images. So the next tool slash technique, it's more of a technique that I love to use, and that's called the Orton effect technique. So that basically is blurring the image to make it even more glowy, draw the viewer in, and pretty much take them into a dreamy landscape, which is what I absolutely love doing. To do so, you want to duplicate the base layer. I'm going to go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And then for my camera, I like to sit it around 17 pixels. Depending on your camera, pretty much depends on the pixels. So the higher megapixel your camera is, the more pixels you're gonna need in the Gaussian Blur module. So play around with it. You don't want it to be completely blown out like shown below. That won't do absolutely anything. So you wanna sit it around so it's got not the complete detail, and it's just got that little bit of glowiness to it. So 17 is where I like to keep mine. Next, what I do is I create a curves adjustment. and then I clip that to the Gaussian blur layer. Next, what I like to do is create a nice contrast between the highlights and the shadows, and that will pretty much bring out the nice glowy effect in the highlights. So I'm just going to click and drag on the highlights, bring that up, and on the shadows I'm going to create that contrast. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the opacity of the Gaussian blur, which is the Orton effect, and as you can see, when I'm bringing that down, it gives it that glowy look. So if I enable that and disable that, you can see the effect that that's getting. It all comes down to personal preference. If you like to add a lot of glow in your images, boost up your opacity on that Gaussian blur. If you don't even want to add it at all, you don't have to. This is just what I like to use in my own images, just to make them pop and stand out. This is a great technique to use when adding glow to your images, and you can localize that in the next tool that I love to use, or technique that I love to use. So the next technique or tool that I like to use is layer mask. So this ties in really well with the Orton effect. So I like to select areas of the Orton effect to affect this particular spots in the area. Like in these highlights here, I like the Gaussian blur to affect that and make it look nice and glowy. What I do is I come down to this layer mask icon, enable that. That's going to put a white layer mask onto our Gaussian. What I'd like to do is invert that, Control I or Command I. That's going to invert it, so that's going to hide the Gaussian blur layer. I come over to the brush tool, I bring back the opacity of that, and because we're painting on a black layer mask, you're going to have a white paintbrush. So that's going to reveal what's underneath the layer mask. So I'm just going to play around with the size, and then I'm just simply going to paint in where I want the Gaussian blur to affect. So as you can see, I just want it to affect the water. Gives it that dreamy look, and is a really good technique if you're looking to add glow. I highly recommend it if you're looking to add glow in your images. So I hope these 5 tools and techniques kind of help you step up your photography and Instagram game and make your photos pop a little bit more with these techniques. These are my personal favorite tools and techniques that I use in my images. Just because I do them doesn't mean you have to do them and implement them. It's all down to personal preference and your style on your photography. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic weekend.